So you're now watching something a little bit different to what we usually do here at Nintendo Life. For the first time, we are proud to show you some actual 3D footage from the Virtual Boy. Now to view this video, you are going to need a new 3DS or a 3D television. And if you have either of those things, well, enjoy this video. It's something a bit different. We don't really do a lot of Virtual Boy coverage, or at least not enough, especially in terms of video. Now the Virtual Boy is probably Nintendo's kind of dirty little secret. Released in around 1995 and discontinued less than a year later in 1996, the Virtual Boy is kind of emblematic of a lot of Nintendo's failures in the mid to late 90s. And I think that's kind of unfair. At its heart, the Virtual Boy had a lot of faults. It was definitely a product of a rushed launch combined with technology that just wasn't ready yet. The initial machine, the display was in red and black, which of course gave everybody the trademark headaches. But there were intentions for it to be a colour system. But of course the only thing holding that back was the price, and something Nintendo has always been keen on throughout their history is you're releasing older hardware, but in using it in new ways and keeping the costs down. And I think what we did end up with the Virtual Boy was something that was definitely not ready in its current form, and it needed a couple years for the technology to catch up with the vision. And who knows what we may have seen if that had been the case. And to show you what the Virtual Boy is all about, I thought it would be a good opportunity to show you Virtual Boy Wario Land. Now the Wario games are a very unique beast when it comes to Nintendo. Something that you can always expect from a game featuring Wario is a little bit of experimentation, something a little bit different. And different is definitely what you get in Virtual Boy Wario Land. Ever since he first appeared in Super Mario Land 2, whenever he's in a game, you just know that it's not going to be your typical platformer, at least not in terms of what you usually expect from Nintendo. And obviously the thing about Virtual Boy Wario Land is that there's a lot of 3D effects being used, and in this case it's a lot of foreground and background effects. So there are options for Wario to move from the foreground to the background and bounce between the two, and some of the enemies and obstacles will do the exact same thing. So this is just me kind of going through the levels here. I haven't played this game in a very long time. I do own a Virtual Boy, and I do actually own this game. It was one of the first games I picked up. And I just haven't played it in so long, so you may see me mess up a few times here, and for that I apologise. Unfortunately I can't get capture from a real Virtual Boy. That's just very tricky. Trying to take any sort of image from a Virtual Boy is a nightmare, just because of the whole visor thing and the whole display where any kind of camera put through the lens just doesn't show it right. So we've had to rely on emulators for this video, unfortunately. But the plus side of that is you get a sharper picture and a lovely 1080p 60 frames per second video, and on top of that it's not in that awful red and black screen that gives you headaches. So this is kind of the best way to enjoy Virtual Boy games at the moment. As you can see, it's a very slow-paced platform game, much like many of the other Wario games that have been released on the Game Boy, the original Game Boy of course. And of course it's all about collecting coins, collecting treasures. It's very difficult to die, like in most Wario games. You could get hit by an enemy and you won't die straight away. You may lose your power and shrink if Wario is wearing a particular helmet. And of course that is what Wario is known for, is having these different helmets that give you different abilities. And your main offensive abilities, in one case of what Wario has, is if he's a normal sized Wario, then he can do this lovely little shoulder barge that will usually knock enemies out for 6, and then he can pick them up and throw them at other enemies. Of course you can't do this if you get hit and turn into little tiny Wario, but if you're bigger than that, you're okay. There are other abilities that you'll probably see throughout this video. There's another hat that gives him horns, which enables him to headbutt blocks a little bit easier. And there's another one that gives you the ability to breathe fire like a dragon, which is very useful in some cases, especially some of the swimming levels. So just finding a few kind of little hidden areas here just to get some more lovely little coins. and watching out for enemies. There's so many things to kind of blocks to appear, but we seem to have come to a barrier, and I could not actually remember for the life of me how to get past this little door. I remember getting a key somewhere, but I didn't see it on my travels, so maybe I'm just going to go back a little bit and just see what I'm missing. As you can see, I bounced into that enemy a few times without shoulder charging him, and it didn't really hurt me at all. But barging the door isn't going to help, so I really need to find that key. So I'm going to go back a bit further just to see where that key is. In terms of controls, Wario is very simple to control. You just move left and right up to go through doors. There's a jump button, there's your other button which attacks and charges, and then there's another button for dashing, running around, which speeds up Wario's walking speed, so you can get over little holes in the ground like that. I've got my key now, so I can actually now reach the end of the level. So I'm just going to take the lift to the next area at the moment. And after each level you can indulge in some mini games. So here's the first one for some hearts. So you can bet coins. The more coins you bet, the better the prizes, but the harder the games are. And then this one you've got to move between the foreground and background, grabbing hearts as you go and avoiding enemies. It's relatively simple, but again this is the easiest version of the game. I imagine the higher bets would mean much more difficulties. As you can see, I'm not really having too much trouble. I'm not missing too many, apart from that one there. Oh, just missed it. So the next one we've got here is a coin game for getting more lovely coins, and it's a similar thing. You can bet money, and you pick between these two balloons. One has lots of coins, one doesn't, and I got quite lucky there for a change. And you can keep betting for more money, but we'll just get out of that for now and move on to the next stage. No idea what that little beastie watching the TV is doing, other than watching TV of course. So it looks like there's not quite so many levels in this game, so it looks like there's 14 levels and I imagine some sort of boss. Each level has some sort of hidden treasure trinket to find. So it's not an overly long game. The game can be finished in about an hour, 2 hours tops. And there's a save function as well, so you don't have to play the game in one sitting. And there's also another little feature that most Virtual Boy games have, in that you can actually set it to pause the game for every so often, every 15 30 minutes or so, just to give you a chance to give your eyes a rest away from the game. But you can always turn that off when you start the game anyway, which most people tend to do these days. It's interesting that when the Virtual Boy came out, there were lots of warning signs on the box to say, not to be used by kids under the age of a certain age, I think it was 3, and not to use it for too long just because the headaches were so bad. And I must admit, I've used the Virtual Boy, but I've never really used it for longer than half hour at a time anyway, and but me personally, I don't really suffer too much in terms of headaches, but I can see with a red and black display how many people can. So I've already found the key on this next level already, which is going to make me leaving the level a bit easier to deal with here. But we're just going to get some more hearts and coins. This is easily the most polished of the Virtual Boy games out there, and I really do like the animation in this game. Wario is a very larger-than-life character, and the sprite work in this game is very well done. Very fluid animation, nice, big, bright, chunky sprites, which look really good on an actual Virtual Boy, really distinctive, even in 3D, which is a really good 3D effect. It's actually quite impressive. Obviously not as impressive as the Nintendo 3DS is, but for the time, think about 20 years ago, it's actually quite amazing that Nintendo managed to fit that technology in a piece of equipment that's only a couple of $100, which was a far cry from the virtual reality headsets at the time, which were many tens of thousands of dollars or pounds. So here we're going to pick up the dragon hat, which lets you breathe fire, which is very handy for escaping particular levels. Good for killing enemies, good for finding secrets as well. The The sound is also really good on the Virtual Boy as well. It's quite not too easy to hear at the moment, but it's definitely an upgrade from the original Game Boy in terms of the sound chip used. And what you're not getting is the kind of actual stereo style effect you get when actually using the Virtual Boy itself. It sounds very unlike anything else. So I'm just going to go back the way we came. See if we can find the end of this level so we can use this key. There we go. At the end of the level already. Let's skip this game for now. Keep going and see what we find on the next level. We'll have a little go at this next level before I let you go. So this level's a decidedly more watery stage. So you can swim up, you can use the dash button to swim a little bit faster. And then these nasty little chainsaw enemies that can be quite deadly. But as long as you've got that fire ability, it makes them so much easier. A lot less avoiding, a lot more offensive. Just got to avoid those spiky urchins. Because if I hit those, then I'll lose my wonderful fire powers, and then where would I be? Under the water with no fire. And that's just not on. Admittedly, this is a relatively repetitive game. You know, it is mainly just kind of collecting coins and the occasional treasure. You always know that you've got to find a key to get to the end of the level, and you know there is a hidden treasure to find. And I imagine that reaching the end of the game with all of those treasures from every stage will unlock some sort of extended ending. Same goes for collecting lots and lots of coins, because that's a very familiar thing in Wario games, especially the platformers. The more coins you get and the more treasures you collect, the better your ending, the better the castle Wario gets at the end, or what have you. So I'm going to leave you for this very special 3D Nintendo Life video. Please let us know if you enjoyed this 3D video, because if you like this, we'll do more of them. We'll cover any Virtual Boy game you want, any of them. We'll even cover homebrew games, because there are a lot of those on the system. Just let us know. You can either message us at Nintendo Life on Twitter, or you can message me personally at The Last Metroid on Twitter. But as always, please subscribe to our channel for even more videos, and we hope you enjoyed this one. So until next time, happy gaming.